Hola, ¿qué tal amigos? Buenos días, buenas tardes y buenas noches. No importa la hora que sea, siempre es un gran momento para aprender español con Profesor Pablo. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. Like and subscribe if you feel so inclined. Our lesson today is cuando, when. This is a huge lesson because it's going to lead us right to the present subjunctive, verb number 8. Okay, we know that cuando, when is used all the time in language. But first of all, let us remember there are only 3 time frames in life. We live in the present tense. We're trapped in the present tense. There's a past tense that we remember and a future tense that we plan for. So, taking that cue, when we use the word cuando, it's a great linking word, a great bridge word, a great connector. Using cuando allows you to take a sentence and stretch it out and double the length. It's a great tool to have. We want to make sure that we know how to use the tool correctly. We have 4 clusters. Well, after cuando, when, if you're referring to something that happens all the time, you're going to use the present tense. Verb number 3. If you're referring to something that happened in the past, then it's either got to be preterite or imperfect. Those are our 2 past tenses. Okay? If it's something that happened one time, like when we won the game, when it happened, when it started to snow, then that's going to be the preterite, verb number 4. Take a look at this cluster. If you're talking about something that always used to happen or would happen all the time in the past, after cuando, then you're going to follow it with a past imperfect, which is verb number 5. So we kind of handled these already. Cuando plus present tense, cuando plus preterite, and cuando plus imperfect. Today, after we review the first 3 clusters, we're going to hit it hard right here. Cuando plus present subjunctive, verb number 8, opposite vowel, when we refer to something that hasn't happened yet. So cuando plus present tense. If you're talking about something that happens all the time, like when I go to school, cuando voy a la escuela, when it rains, cuando llueve, when I have time, I like to do this, cuando tengo tiempo, when I'm at home alone, cuando estoy en la casa solo, when my mom calls me, cuando mi mamá me llama, when I work really hard, cuando trabajo muy duro, when we have a free moment, cuando tenemos un momento libre, and say what you do after all of those. Present tense. Cuando llueve, when it rains, I like to be outside. Cuando llueve, me gusta estar afuera, caminando en la lluvia. When it rains, I like to be outside, walking in the rain, not singing, walking in the rain. Cuando tengo sed, when I'm thirsty, me gusta tomar agua. I like to drink water. Cuando mi papá tiene sed, le gusta tomar agua también. He likes to drink water as well. Cuando mi papá está en la casa en la noche y tiene sed, when my dad is at home at night and he's thirsty, le gusta tomar una cerveza. He likes to have a beer. Cuando voy a la playa, voy con mis amigos. When I go to the beach, I go with my friends. Cuando voy a la playa, me divierto. I have fun when I go to the beach. Cuando voy a la playa, me gusta sacar fotos. When I go to the beach, I like to take pictures. Cuando voy a la playa, me gusta jugar en el mar. When I go to the beach, I like to play in the ocean. Cuando plus present tense, you're referring to something that happens, something that you do, something that happens. 3 time frames in life, present, past, and future. What if you want to refer to something that happened, a one-time thing? 1x here, one time. When it happened, cuando pasó, it scared me. Me dio miedo. Cuando pasó, I called my brother. Cuando pasó, le eché una llamada a mi hermano. When we won, we celebrated. Cuando ganamos, celebramos. When it started snowing, we all ran outside. Cuando empezó a nevar, todos salimos corriendo para afuera. When it started snowing, everybody shouted with happiness. Cuando empezó a nevar, todos gritamos con alegría y felicidad. Referring to what happens, it's cuando in present. referring to what happened one time, it's cuando plus preterite. Now referring in the past to something that used to happen or you did all the time as a kid. Like when I was a kid, cuando era niño, when I would go to school, cuando iba a la escuela, I would always walk with my friends. Siempre caminaba con mis amigos. When I had free time, I used to like to read. Cuando tenía tiempo libre, me gustaba leer. Notice that both verbs match up, imperfect and perfect. 5, are your verb numbers, right? Example here. When it would rain, I like to stay home and read. Cuando llovía, me gustaba quedarme en la casa a leer. When it would rain, they would cancel all the sporting events. Cuando llovía, cancelaban todos los eventos de deportes, todos los eventos deportivos. Cuando llovía, cancelaban los deportes afuera. When it would rain, they would cancel the outdoor sports. When the weather was nice. Cuando hacía buen tiempo, íbamos a la playa. We would go to the beach. Cuando hacía buen tiempo, jugábamos afuera. We would play outside. Cuando hacía buen tiempo, íbamos al parque mucho. We would go to the park a lot. Cuando hacía buen tiempo, caminaba a mi perro. I would take my dog for a walk. Sacaba a pasear a mi perro. Cuando iba a la escuela, siempre me divertía con mis amigos. When I used to go to school, I would always have fun with my friends. Cuando iba a la escuela, todos los días aprendía algo nuevo. When I would go to school, I would always learn something new. Now let's get down here. Opposite vowel. Where do we get the concept? We know AR verb has an opposite vowel of E. An ER or IR verb has an opposite vowel of the letter A. When we did our commands, we know there are 5 commands in Spanish. Usted, ustedes, the let's form, the we command, the negative 2, and then the positive 2 command. The first 4 are opposite vowel. How do you get to the command? Remember, you take the yo form of the present tense, stem changing, G to J, the irregulars, accented I, accented U, the reflexive. Just get to the yo form ending in O. All but 5 verbs do. And then you change that O to the opposite vowel. And guess what? That is also the form of the present subjunctive. The opposite vowel is all 5 forms of the present subjunctive. For example, let's take a verb like hablar. Hablo, change the O to the opposite vowel, which would be E. Hable, all 5 forms. Hable, hables, hable, hablemos, hablen. Take the verb comer. How do you get opposite vowel of comer? Go to the yo form, como, change the O to the opposite vowel, which is A. Coma, comas, coma, comamos, coman. Let's take escribir, to write. Escribo, change the O to A. Escriba, escribas, escriba, escribamos, escriban. What are the 5 irregulars in the present tense that don't end in O in the yo form? There's boy, soy, doy, estoy, and se. So that's vaya, esté, de, sea, and sepa. So what is the present subjunctive of ir? Vaya, vayas, vaya, vayamos, vayan. What is it for tener? Let me see. Tengo, O to A. Tenga, tengas, tenga, tengamos, tengan. Let's go with salir. Salgo. Yeah, change the O to A. Salga, 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 salgamos, salgen. Okay, or salgan. Okay, to form the present subjunctive is quite simple. It's going to be like your commands. Okay, so today is just a little introduction to the present subjunctive. When we get to the present subjunctive, we will make sure that any quirkiness, any strange things that happen in the present subjunctive, we will make those very clear to you. But for today's lesson, we want you to know that to get to the present subjunctive after cuando, you just take that verb, whichever it is, in the opposite vowel form, based on the present tense yo form. When we go, cuando vayamos a la playa este fin de semana, nos vamos a divertir mucho. When we go to the beach this weekend, we're going to have a lot of fun. Here's the key point. If you refer to something that has not happened yet, you have to use the present subjunctive opposite vowel form. When I was teaching, the kids would say, Profe Pablo, ¿podemos salir temprano? May we leave early? And I said, no, de ninguna manera, no way. Cuando suene la campana. Sonar, like sonar, right? Sonar is to sound or to ring. Cuando suene, when the bell rings. Even if the bell is going to ring in one split second. When I say cuando suene, if the bell has not rung yet, you have to go opposite vowel. Cuando suene la campana. So we want you today to start to learn to how to use cuando when you're referring to something in the future that has not happened yet. Right here. When I have time. I don't have time now. Ahora no tengo tiempo. Ayer no tuve tiempo. Pero cuando tenga tiempo mañana, but when I have time tomorrow. Referring to the future. Cuando tenga tiempo. Okay? It's called present subjunctive. There is no thing called future subjunctive to be concerned with. Okay? So here we go. Let's give some more examples. When I get married, casarse. Cuando me case, graduarse. When I graduate, cuando me gradue, with an accent on the U, right? It's one of those accented U verbs. How about when we sell the house? Cuando vendamos la casa. How about when dad gets home? The verb is llegar. It's a cargarzar. Cuando papá llegue, with a G-U-E. Cuando papá llegue a la casa. When it's a little easier. Cuando sea un poco más fácil. Okay? If you want to say when it's not raining, cuando no esté lloviendo. When I have more money, I will buy the car. Cuando tenga más dinero, compraré el coche. When it's not so cold, we'll go out and play. Cuando no haga, hago, change the O to A. Cuando no haga tanto frío, saldremos a jugar. We will go out and play. It's an easy concept. It's not difficult. Don't have any fear of this. Just know, after cuando, if you're referring to something that hasn't happened yet, the verb is going to be in the opposite vowel form, like your four commands. The usted, ustedes, the we, let's form, and the negative to command. Opposite. So we're going to practice in our next lesson a bunch of sentences using divertirse, to have fun, ser divertido, to be fun, and other sentences as well. And we're going to throw cuando in there to see how you can handle it. Let me make up a sentence with something that hasn't happened yet. Like, I'll do it when I get home. That's future. Lo haré, H-A-R-E with an accent on the E. Lo haré cuando llegue, double L-E-G-U-E, a la casa. I'll buy a car when I find a job. Compraré un coche cuando encuentre, E-N-C-U-E-N-T-R-E, un trabajo. Compraré un coche cuando encuentre un trabajo. All right, not difficult, just need to point it out. We learn by example, a little bit of instruction, tips, tools, and tricks, and a lot of practice. Okay, so that's it. Cuando is either referring to our three time frames, present, past, or future. If you're referring to the present, you're going to use present, verb number 3. If you're referring to the past, it's either going to be verb number 4, preterite, if it's a one-time thing in the past, or if it's an all-the-time thing in the past, it'll be verb number 5, imperfect. If you're not referring to the present, and you're not referring to the past, but you're referring to something in the future, whether it's one tick of the clock away or decades away, it's going to be present subjunctive, verb number 8, opposite vowel, just like 4 of the 5 commands. Okay? All right, thank you very much for tuning in. Appreciate it. We'll see you real soon with our next lesson. It will be creating sentences incorporating cuando, divertirse, ser divertido, and many, many other topics we have studied. Okay, gracias por todo. Hasta pronto. This is Profesor Pablo signing off. Cambio fuera. Over and out. Cambio fuera.